Mm-hmm. Oh.
It's a time machine.
It's a time machine. I love it.
That reminds me of The Pursuit of Happiness. It's a time machine.
Mm-hmm. Stepping out, and there's the dinosaurs. You forgot your R.
All right.
Mm-hmm. Good job. Okay, tell us when you're ready to go, John.
Oh. Mindy texted me earlier.
Mindy.
Anzant or Win.
Oh, really? What's she up to?
She's attending, her and Brad are attending a couple of the courses that I'm doing. And she was trying to log in to the implant course, but that she was logging in to the wrong one.
Oh, gotcha. And are you sharing this to the Mid-South page and both of our personal pages, or just the Mid-South page, and we can kind of share it?
Just the Mid-South page. For some reason, it didn't work.
Do what? Okay.
All right, we're going live.
Okay. All right, so what's up?
Well, hang on, we ain't there yet. Golly. Lord,
I got stuff to do, dude.
Lord, give me patience and give it to me right now. All right, we're live. All right. All right, hey folks, John Harris here, managing partner with Fortune Management, and I've got Ms. Reagan Hartman, my partner in crime, and we've also got Mr. Rick Schneer with Patterson Dental out of Louisville, Kentucky. He's an old friend of ours, and a young friend of ours. How dare me? And we are going to take some time today to between all the webinars and things that we're doing and client calls and all this kind of stuff. We want to take a few minutes to compile some information that we've gathered over the last few days, and we're going to share this with you guys. So these are some of the things that we've identified as, with this new bill that just passed. We were talking about that before we came on. Just passed the House, and so it looks like that's going into effect. And so one of the things in that bill was the SBA loan that's retroactive. We talked about this with Lee yesterday. It's retroactive, so employers can go back and pay employees for the last 1 or 2 weeks, or all the way back to February 15th, if they've been out of work, and for the next 6 weeks or however long period of time, that loan is completely forgivable. The payments are deferred for 6 months, so there's a very likely chance that if we're just utilizing that for payroll, for the next 8 weeks, and that loan is going to be completely forgiven, and we're able to pay employees their full paychecks, and it won't cost us anything to do that with the deferred payment for 6 months and the loan forgiven after the first 8 weeks. So with that said, one of the things that conversations I've been having with a lot of my clients is, obviously if we're going to be getting this money and then paying employees to are giving employees their paychecks. And Reagan, correct me if I'm looking at this the wrong way or whatever that is, please tell me. But if we're going to be, distributing those paychecks, and I think it makes sense for us to use that time productively, and use this, this down period right here to work on a lot of opportunities in the practice. I mean, there are a ton of things that we can do in the practice on a daily basis that don't necessarily require patient care, that can limit, exposure, still honor the rules around social distancing and all those kinds of things, and still be very, very productive. And so we created a document. I sent that out to everybody a couple of days ago. I hope you got that. If you didn't get that, let me know, and I'll be sure to send that out to you. But we just wanted to talk about some of those items today and field any questions that you guys got about what could be done, what can't be done, and some of those kinds of things. So Reagan, what do you think in terms of, I'll pull it up here, and I broke it down through the 5 business engines. And I don't know if you've got it in front of you or not, but let me find my folder. There it is.
Well, one thing I will say is ways to take advantage of this time if our clients are running a skeleton crew, meaning they're available for emergencies. Maybe they have a front desk or two at the office catching up on claims, or, moving patients depending on how long they're going to be, shelter at home. But most of our clients are going to have a couple of people going into the office fairly consistently during the shutdown, just to field messages, stay on top of emails, specialists, correspondence, all of that kind of stuff. And so if we're going to have employees in there, whether on a limited or a full-time basis, knowing that we're not going to have the patient flow that we're used to, there are some ways they can take advantage of this time and really focusing on the things that we never seem to get around to, right? The things that are a good idea in theory, and they're a good idea in foundational practice and a good idea just in daily practice, but maybe we need to clean some stuff up, or maybe we need to get a few other foundational pieces laying in order to be able to take the next step forward. So this is really an opportunity for us to do just that. So as you said, John, having this broken down into the 5 business engines gives us some direction for, whatever position the employee holds, to know how they can best utilize this time, this slower patient flow time, to really support the business, to add value, and to make certain that we're preparing for a really strong comeback. And so I don't know how you want to run through this list. I know at first we were looking at the clinical area, because now more than ever, we have a real opportunity to just bombard ourselves with CE that make us either a little bit sharper as a hygienist, a little bit sharper as an assistant, or even a little bit more astute as a dentist in your diagnoses, or maybe how you view certain things. So with this time that we've been gifted, invest in those things that are going to make you stronger, that will make you a stronger candidate coming out of this. If your office is only able to bring back people on an as needed basis, and you're a team member, now's the time to invest in yourself to make sure that you're one of those people, right? And if you're going into the office anyway, things like, not just doing online clinical and KCE, but maybe even sharpening your saw relative to how you diagnose perio if you're a hygienist. Do we need to raise our standard there? Or do we need to develop a protocol? Maybe every hygienist does it differently, and we need to streamline that process. If you are the hygiene source, now is a great opportunity for you to invest time in really building that whole protocol out. If you are, excuse me, if you have several associates in your practice, now is a great time to kind of build out your restorative diagnostic criteria and put it in writing, so that moving forward, as you anticipate a rebound, moving forward, you've got a really strong foundation there, a really strong training foundation, so that as you bring new associates in, your brand can continue to expand. I mean, working on, if you've recently gone paperless, working on kind of scanning all of those documents into your now digital charts, taking pictures and having detailed protocols for how the doctor likes the trays to be set up for certain procedures, or what needs to be available for certain procedures and readily available if not on the tray. Streamlining your new OSHA protocol. You know, OSHA's coming out with some new guidelines. Given the whole COVID-19 thing, they're coming out with some new guidelines. So updating your OSHA manuals and your OSHA protocols before the doors open back up. I mean, what better time to take advantage of than like right now? Also taking advantage of online courses to sharpen your saw relative to certain technology that is already present in your office, whether it's watching videos, if it's taking tests, if it's going to webinars, whatever it is. I mean, now is a great time to kind of sharpen our saw. One of the other things that we looked at was cleaning up patient charts. I know a lot of doctors like to give patients 2 to 3 options when they have a certain condition, 2 to 3 options that may, you know, address that condition. Well, maybe the patient already agreed to and completed one, but the other 2 treatment plans are still in their chart. Now's a good time to go back and clean all of that up so that when you come back, you have your data is actually accurate and up to date, and you know where the opportunities are to kind of build your schedule from there. So, I mean, in the clinical and technology sector, there is a lot that can be done over the next 2 to 3 weeks, you know, before you open, that would add real measurable value to your office that may not be realized in the next 1 week or 2 weeks, but will certainly be one of those opportunities where you learn, you kind of plant the seed expecting for the harvest a little bit later. So then, John, do you want to speak to the systems and organization?
Yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just run through these, and if you want to add anything to them, we'll because we got basically a cheat sheet here. So this was, I mean, it's very comprehensive. There's probably 100 or so items between all 5 engines. But yeah, one thing I would add to that is I would say just remember the 3 things that you can invest. You can invest time, talent, and treasure. And right now treasure's a little bit compromised, right? You know, so we're not quite sure what that looks like, but we've still got time that we can invest, and we still got talent that we can invest. And you're absolutely guaranteed a return on those investments. So, you know, if you're investing time now and not necessarily being compensated for it, that return is coming. It's out in the open. It's just kind of backlogged at some point that will generate true tangible revenue that will translate into, you know, compensation and bonuses and all that kind of stuff. So just keep that in mind. So as far as the clinical engine is concerned, do some online web-based clinical case studies with your associates. I think that's a big one. You know, a lot of the owner doctors that have young associates, you know, now's a good time to look at x-rays, look at cases, kind of compare them, sit down with your associates. You can even do that stuff via like Zoom meeting like this. And so, you know, have your associates say, this is a case that I'm working on. This is how I'm planning to handle it. And then have the owner doctor, you know, make some recommendations on, you know, have you thought about this? Have you considered this? Just to kind of align yourselves behind the same clinical philosophy and standard. Define your restorative diagnostic criteria with your hygienist. Reagan mentioned that. You also mentioned create a perio sealant fluoride programs, define your diagnostic criteria around that, and then what your treatment options are in terms of products and services. Work on scanning and designing crowns. If you're a new CEREC office, you know, that's one of the things that kind of slows a lot of people down. Now's a great time to get some models, get the assistants in there, work on scanning some crowns. If you're a doctor and you're currently designing your crowns, now's a great time to get your assistants in there and teach them how to design the crowns so that when you come back, you've got plenty of time to get a lot of repetition. You know, by the time you come back, your assistant should be proficient in designing those crowns, freeing you up to focus on the portions that, you know, drive the productivity and the restorative schedule. Training new assistants on tray setups and logistics. You mentioned that. Training your hygiene team on your intraoral cameras and diagnostic images needed prior to exam. You know, so if you're doing photography,
scanner.
What's that?
The new iTero scanner. Like some assistants aren't yet fluent on that. So now would be a great opportunity to kind of brush up on skills relative to how to make ideal scans.
You don't talk about iTero scanners with Patterson Dental on the call with us.
I'm just saying, I know I have a few clients who have iTeros and they're going to be on this call. So I'm just saying, if they're using it, now's a great time, or even if they have the scan, either way, whatever technology they have, they need to be practicing. Is that not true?
I totally agree.
Whatever they
So yeah, just making sure you're on the same page there. If I'm the doctor, I would want my hygienist to know and have a protocol in place and a system in place that says I've got to have intraoral camera pictures. I've got to have, I need the restorative, anything that's restorative that you've identified that I need to take a look at. I need to make sure you have that identified prior and had a conversation with the patient prior to me coming in to do the exam. I think now's a great time to clean all that up and just get everybody on the same page. Online clinical CE courses, there's some of that stuff going around right now. So I know CEREC Doctors is doing a whole series. It's like 10 or 12 events, aren't they, Rick? That are like 10 or 12 free online. That's all CEREC based, all CT based. I've got several of my doctors that are participating in that. And then do some online courses on OraCare, Oral ID, Oral DNA, a lot of those things. I think it'd be a good utilization of time. On the systems and organization, and this is a big one, and it probably one of the most predominant ones on this list, and that is, I think now is a great time to audit every active patient chart. And when you're auditing those active patient charts, go ahead and identify patients who are candidates for implants. I just did a 3-hour implant, webinar. Just got off prior to this call, and that was one of the components that I brought up. Go ahead and identify the patients that have missing teeth or in partials, dentures, or bridges, and create a list. And you can even go in and create follow-ups in Dental Intel. Trying to get her to wave at me.
wave it, unky hunky.
No.
Okay.
No. She won't say that when I get over there. She'll say, "You're my favorite." But go ahead and audit every active patient chart. Identify patients who are candidates for implants, ortho, sleep, missing X-rays, incomplete contact information, don't have an email address, patients that don't like your social media, they're not following you on Facebook or following you on Instagram. So I can make a verbal, contact with them when they check in for their next appointment. Say, "Hey, by the way, have you checked us out on Facebook?" So to identify all those opportunities, patients who are candidates for whitening, patients who are candidates for Plan for Health, patients who are candidates for Sonicare, OraCare, fluoride, sealants, other ancillaries. Now's a great opportunity to identify all the patients that are candidates for all the different products and services that we offer, so that we can plan ahead, and prepare to have a conversation with them when they come in, or even send out email and text message communication with them with links, to get them up to speed through RevenueWell or your text message. I think Eaglesoft has a text message component to it, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Now's one of the things I'm doing with a lot of my clients right now is developing a formal documented business plan, that a lot of folks don't have. That's that's got your SWOT analysis in it, your pro forma in it, your financials, your strategic plan, your marketing plan. Now's a great time to do that research, get all that information, and have it in a documented plan. Go in and check and make sure that all current scheduled appointments have the appropriate codes attached. So, like, for example, if you're going to be discussing adult, I've got some practices that are going to talk. I know those hygienists are going to talk about adult fluoride with every single patient that sits in their chair. Okay, go ahead and attach the adult fluoride code to that appointment for 2 reasons. A, make sure the Profi code's attached to that. Otherwise, Dental Intel doesn't recognize that as a scheduled appointment. But B, go ahead and attach, if you're going to be talking to them about fluoride, if you're going to be talking to them about Sonicare or OraCare, go ahead and attach those codes to that appointment on your schedule so it reflects in the scheduled production for that day. Okay? Very important. Clean up all dated and duplicate treatment plans. That's something that comes up often. It's kind of like we look at your treatment acceptance, and your treatment acceptance percentage is like 36%. And the first thing that comes out of their mouth is, oh, we got a lot of old treatment plans in there. Okay, well, now's a great time to go clean all that stuff up. So you've only got current treatment plans in there. Now your treatment acceptance percentage is going to be accurate.
Go back and make sure, and on that, go back and make sure that patient photos are numbered and have the appropriate tooth number identified. Go back and make sure that chart notes are complete and up to date if those have gotten behind. Go back and reevaluate your protocols manual or your procedure manual, and go back and evaluate what your employee manual is. I mean, this is the perfect time to do some of those things, including the things that you can do at home.
Yeah.
Right. We'll get to more of that on the people engine, but all of this is a time to like get ahead on things that we put off far too often.
Wait till we get to the marketing engine. Some people, I'm going to get some eye rolls when I start talking about what can be done there. If you don't have your goals set up in Dental Intel, go set up your goals in Dental Intel. If you don't have your goals set up in Eaglesoft, go set up your goals in Eaglesoft. If you've always been thinking about doing scheduling a goal, but you've never put the blocks in place, go ahead and put the blocks in place.
If you need to build your scheduling template out in Eaglesoft or Dentrix or Open Dental or any of your software so that you really are abiding by template scheduling, do that now. If you want to build out your exploding code so that it makes it easier for your assistants and hygienists to chart and document, do that now. I mean, all of those things are just the busy work that we never seem to get around to doing. And again, now's the perfect time.
Update your target board. A lot of times I'll go into offices and I'll see a target board with a name scratched out and another name written ahead of it. Go ahead and update your target board. And your promise and source board. There'll be old items on there that have been crossed off. Go ahead and get that updated. Utilize Ghost Hygiene, doing a video. There is one on the Fortune Practice Management corporate YouTube channel now with Shannon Ruszkowski. I'm doing one with Brooke Middleton next week on Ghost Hygiene scheduling. Every one of my clients have been asking about that. It's a phenomenal strategy to use to give you a place to put all the patients that you've had to move, and also kind of mitigate the damages when you have last minute cancellations and no-shows. So definitely check those out. I would go ahead and anticipate about a 10 to 20% increase in cancellations, just because I don't think when we get back up and running, I think there's going to be some people that don't quite have their schedules have changed. Right. And so they're maybe finances are not in the same place as they were before this whole thing hit. So I would anticipate a 10 to 20% increase, and go ahead and plan ahead and prepare for that. Talked about scheduling templates. Go ahead and identify additional days in the schedule that can be used to make up lost production days from when we've been down.
And adjust your clinical hours in Dental Intel from when you've been down.
Yep. Activate local med through Dental Intel to allow for online scheduling. If you're not able to do online scheduling, if you don't have that functionality yet, if you don't have 24-hour, telephone reception, I would definitely look at options to get that stuff turned on. Patients want convenience, affordability, and comfort. And convenience is me being able to click on a link on your website and apply for care credit and get turned down potentially in the comfort of my home where nobody knows, right? Or to call at the last minute. I talked about this on this implant course, man. Everything revolves around state. When a patient is in state to pick up the phone and call the practice, they're in state right then, not on Monday when you're answering the phone. They're in state right now at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning. So when I call at 11 o'clock on Saturday morning, you need somebody to field the phone call, because if I leave a message and then you're counting on me to answer when you call me back on Monday, I'm in a different state now. I'm back at work. I'm busy. I'm stressed. Now it's not as important as it was on Saturday. I tried to get it done on Saturday. I couldn't talk to anybody. So that's very important. Reach out to your Fortune coach and get a revenue well utilization report. You probably even get this through your Patterson rep. They get a revenue well utilization report and go in and look at the features. You're making an investment in that platform. and a lot of practices aren't utilizing half of the features that it has available. Man, that thing is loaded with stuff. It's got a patient portal. It can send text messages so people can click on a link and pay their balance. It shows insurance breakdowns. It's got online patient forms. There's a ton of features in Revenue Well that we're investing in. Let's unlock it and use everything that has available to us. Purge patient charts. Now's a good time to do that. If you've got the big shelf behind the front desk with 2,000 patient charts in it, and some of those patients haven't been in the practice in the last in 4 years. Now's a good time to purge those and get them out into a what do they call those? Those pods. You put them out in one of those or storage somewhere. And even digital charts. If you've got digital charts and patients in your software that haven't been in for quite a long time that are technically still defined as active within Eaglesoft, now's a good time to clean that up.
If I can insert something here, when you go back to the ghost scheduling, this is something I've been talking to my clients over the past couple of days, is just as new things unfold. But when you're considering ghost scheduling, and as John said, maybe even expect an increase of 15 to 20% in your open appointments. One of the ways to evaluate which 15 to 20%, I would evaluate your schedule for non-essential, like how it was defined in the past few weeks, what a non-essential worker is. And I think that gives some predictability about who has the cash flow and just the certainty in their lives to be willing to keep one of those appointments, right? So we know who the essential workers have been, and we know who the perceived non-essential workers have been. So as you are kind of auditing your schedule and looking at where to go schedule, consider who's been employed during the pandemic and who had the possibility of not being employed just based on where they were employed. And that gives us some level of predictability as to where the open spots are going to be.
That's good. That's real good. I've got a practice right now that it was a client of mine that recently bought a practice, and they're in the process of going digital, going paperless. So now's a good time to get all those charts scanned in that need to get scanned in, rather than trying to do that between patients or as they come in. Let's go ahead and get that out of the way. Look at options and navigate to digital intake patient forms, whether you're doing that through Revenue Well or you're doing that through another service. But now's a good time to just go ahead and make that next transitional step towards being completely digital and embracing technology, because it's the future, man. That's where it's headed. That's where it's going. It's kind of like, I think with CERAC and in-office milling, every practice in the country is going to have that in their office at some point. You've either got it in there now. Every practice in the country is going to have CBCT, just like, every practice has a PAN. That's where we're going. That's the future. So now's a good time to go ahead and make those transitional steps. And then lastly, just, in the administrative office, just let's get organized, get paperwork cleaned up. If you need to go back and brand some in-office intake forms, put your logo on them. Just get cleaned up and
match new patient paperwork to their source of entry. That's one thing. Would you not agree, John? One of the most critical pieces of information missed most often when you're determining the trajectory of an organization is the source of their new patients. Right? Well, there are multiple ways we can monitor that. Your practice management software has a place to enter that data. You have your new patient intake forms, a place to monitor that data. Now would be a good time to go and make sure that we have all of the data from the new patient intake forms entered into our practice management software so that we have an accurate new patient source report or referral by source report, so that it helps our management make better decisions relative to where to invest marketing dollars moving forward.
Yep, totally. Okay.
Do you want to move into the people engine?
Yeah, let's go there. You've already brought some of these items up. A lot of CE, we've got a lot of options available through our Mid-South Fortune Facebook page. Sign up for HR for Health and complete the initial administrative process. Go ahead and get that up and running. That's your in-office policy, procedure, everything HR related. It's basically a digital human resources department with a human resources attorney on call. Okay, so fantastic resource. Here's a good one. Go ahead, use this time to conduct your annual periodic employee reviews. If you do annual reviews or periodic reviews, now's a good time to sit down with those people, have an open dialogue about, hey, this is what I'd like to see improve. This is where you really shine. And not only from the doctor's perspective of the employees, but from the employee's perspective of the doctor. So as the owner, as the doctor, how can I improve? Where am I dropping the ball? Where would you like to see me get better? So that should be a two-way conversation. If I'm the leader, I want to know how I can become a better leader. I don't want to assume that I'm the best one that there is. I want to assume that there's always room for me to grow and improve, and no better place to get feedback from. There's no better people to get feedback from than the people that you lead. Okay. Do salary surveys. Go ahead and get online and find out what dental employees in your market are currently making, what you're currently paying your employees, or where they fall on that matrix. There's going to be a bell curve, and it'll show you this is what the average is. This is the top. This is the bottom. So go ahead and do that, and make sure that your people are in the right in the right category based on their skills. And if they desire higher levels of compensation and you've got them categorized a little bit lower, then have a conversation with them about how they can become worth more. Research or what was that? Your compensation package. If you're considering adding benefits, 401k match, health insurance, and some of those kinds of things, now's a good opportunity to do some research and find some options. I know Aflac is a really popular one amongst dental practices. So they've got some really cost-effective, low-cost, health insurance plans and some of those kinds of things. Get with your financial advisor about potentially, putting in place a 401k match. If you don't have a financial advisor, contact us. We'll get you hooked up with Mark Murphy and Ben Bush with Sequoia Private Client Group. Cross-train. That is a big one. There is no better time than right now than have your assistants become experts at being an insurance coordinator. Your insurance coordinator becoming an expert at sterilization. There's no better time to do that than now, so that when you're a little shorthanded, we can flex and bend and move. It just gives us more options. Role playing. Enrollment, handling objections, your quality communication tools. Now's a good time for us to do some role playing. You can do that via Zoom. Dental business related podcasts. Great time to listen in. There's a bunch of them on Apple, on iTunes. So a lot of opportunities there. Several books I would recommend: The Win-Win Scenario by Bernie and Mark, Buy, Sell, Merge by Bill Barrett, Don't Sweat the Startup by Jonathan Miller, Everything is Marketing and Becoming Remarkable by Fred Joyle, and then How to Create Your Ideal Practice, which was written by a bunch of our coaches around the country. So those are some great books that you've got more than enough time to read. Web-based training on Fortune when they're getting ready to launch the Fortune Playbook. That's going to have some web-based training and CE on it. Personal goal setting, man. I just did this the other day. I went back and looked at. We just did goal setting back in January. I do my personal goal setting every January, and I went ahead and looked at where I am so far this year, and I went back and took my goals and I expanded upon that. Now's a good time to go into the details. A lot of our sessions that we do, we say we're going to get you started here, but then we want you to finish this on your own, right? Finish writing all the reasons why this is important, what you'll get if you accomplish it, what you don't if you don't, what you'll miss out on if you don't. Now's a good time to go finish all that stuff and go back and re-review your session training materials. And then the last one.
Now, if I can insert something here, because everything we're sharing with you right now is kind of, we're kind of assuming a predicate here, which is that our clients and the business owners are staying in touch with their employees, that they are reinstilling certainty for their employees, that you're really being the voice of everything's going to be okay, we're going to bounce back. And I think everyone will agree that at some point we will bounce back. The timeline is still fuzzy, but we know that this too shall pass. And so as a business owner, if you are instilling that sense of certainty and that sense of mission and purpose in your employees, even in this time of uncertainty, which is probably more needed now than ever, these are the things that we want them to be open to as a way to utilize their time. So it's not like we're sharing these ideas in a vacuum, like we don't know what's going on. It's just, you know, as you probably heard on previous podcasts, we have a choice in time of crisis to either be at the effect of the circumstance or to be a cause in what we want to see moving forward. So all of these things we're mentioning are behaviors and activities that keep your teams in a cause-in mindset with the certainty from you as the business owner that we're going to bounce back and things are going to be okay, that we're going to get through this together, right? So I just wanted to mention that in case, you know, some people listening are, you know, kind of going through the mindset of, well, where am I going to find time to do this? And how am I going to do this? Or why should I do this? Right? So just kind of wanted to share that from just the abundant thinking perspective. But as John said, use this time to role play those skill sets that you know worked during hard times before and during good times. Continue to role play and build those skill sets and those mindsets. I would also talk about, you know, encouraging each of your team members to get with their own financial advisor and get some key advice or some key direction from them. Most of them make their money off of the growth in the investments anyway. So it shouldn't really cost your team members anything to reach out to their financial advisor and to get some direction and some advice. I know on a call earlier yesterday, John and I made ourselves available to any team member as well as any client. If you need some support just in what you need to do, feel free to reach out to us. I mean, we're just as much your coach as we are the client, as we are the doctor's coach. So we want to make sure that we help you navigate this as well. Now, moving into sales and marketing. So this is where John said, you know, we're probably going to get the, like, I cannot roll my eyes hard enough at why I should do something like this. But really and truly, you know, all the things you guys have been through during the enrollment and marketing session of the training university was really showing you how to create a very robust, very effective, and very comprehensive marketing plan. Now is a time for you to put pen to paper and even to build out some of your Facebook campaigns, Instagram campaigns, Twitter campaigns, whatever platforms you're using. Write up, you know, 12 months of blogs that you can now execute in the months moving forward while everyone else is kind of scrambling just to get their certainty back. So call your patients during this time frame. Your you know, most loyal, your most long-term, those people that always show up. I mean, reach out and make a personal connection with them just to check on them and see how they're doing. You know, go across all of your digital media to make sure your logos and your branding and all of that stuff is consistent, along with your social media pages. I know many of our clients have recently rebranded. So now's a good time to check your Google Plus and your Facebook, Twitter handles, Instagram handles to make sure everything's sending the same message. Making sure that your office hours have been updated on your website with emergency contact information during the COVID-19 crisis. Update your website with current headshots and bios of your team, let's see, I was talking to actually Dr. Jones right before this webcast, and he was like, I'm spending most of my time just working on my website. I've got all of these case studies that haven't been uploaded yet, all of these before and afters that aren't currently up on the new site or the revamped site. So now's the time to do a lot of those things. Create your entire 2020 marketing plan if you haven't already. Now, again, we understand that some of this is fluid because you don't know what discretionary dollars you're going to have in the months ahead. But again, as we stated yesterday, you plan for the worst, but expect the best. And I think that if you're going to expect the best, you have to plan for that too. John, would you not agree?
Yeah, I think if you truly expect, this is where it gets difficult. If you truly expect the best, then you act on it. If you don't expect it to turn out great, then you hold back and you wait to see if it turns out great. But if you're operating from faith, not fear, and you truly expect the best, you're going to take actions expecting the best.
And that's the thing. There is a whole, quantum physics, I geek out on this, so I'm not going to go too deep, but quantum physics is basically proven that that's how things unfold. Whatever we invest our time in faithfully, in expectation of a return, those are the things that kind of guide how the future unfolds. So plan, even if you want to plan for the worst, like having some of those defensive measures we discussed yesterday, you also have to plan for the best and plan for, how you can rebound quickly. And part of it is laying a good foundation now, shoring up loose ends now, filling in gaps of information right now, filling in gaps in data right now. All of those things are going to set a lot of practices up for a really strong rebound. But we need to invest this time we've been gifted, right? Record videos that can be used on social media. If you want to educate your patients on the difference of in being in network or out of network, or you want to educate them on the difference between a traditional cleaning and, a periodontal cleaning or a deep cleaning, a scaling, build videos on that right now. If you want to educate your patients on what perio disease is, this is a great opportunity to set up your iPhone or whatever camera you have and do a lot of educational videos that you can then use on your YouTube site, Facebook, Instagram now, and when you start back. If you don't have a slew of articles already built that can be built into blogs, start building that. I think we already mentioned that. And, explore and compare other marketing companies. These are all those necessary evils that most of our clients tend to not have time to really dig into and do a lot of research on. Well, now's a great time to do that because we have nothing but time at the moment. So look at how you can invest in your marketing or your enrollment, your verbal skills, your ability to influence, even looking at some of your strategic marketing plays in the weeks after you come back. And like we said earlier, predict where your cancellations and no-shows are going to be and focus on those people who have had gainful employment during the shutdown as people to reactivate and people to bring in to kind of fill in the holes in our schedule. What else would you add to that, John?
I think you hit it. Uh-oh. Netflix just turned back on. Hang on. I heard that big chime that kicked off, and I was like, "Yeah, here it comes." No, I think you covered it from start to finish on sales and marketing. That was the one I think that you'll get the most kind of eye rolls on is scheduling out your Facebook post for the next 6 months. It's kind of like, who wants to do that, man? But I mean,
you may not want to, but you got the time to.
Yeah, you got the time to. So
invest time.
Yeah. So real quick, we'll knock out the financial engine. This one's pretty quick. So obviously we want to follow up on all outstanding insurance claims and provide any necessary documentation. Sign up for Plan for Health and complete the initial administrative process. If you don't have a DSP in place, now's a good time to do that. Create and update your financial policy. Explore any additional financial options and get some Care Credit training. I'm sure Care Credit still up and running and doing their thing. So I'm sure they'd be more than willing to schedule some kind of a remote, web-based type training with your team. Work on language skills, handling financial objections, And then lastly, look into activating your patient portal through Revenue Well to allow for online payments. And then I think the last thing that I would say, just to kind of, bring conclusion to this message here, is look back 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and answer this question. What are all the things I said I'd do when I had enough time? Because now you got nothing but time. And if you don't use the time that you've got available to do all the things that you've been putting off because you don't have time, time was not the problem.
Go back to your post-session checklists.
Mm-hmm.
How many things have not yet been completed or haven't been refined yet? I mean, some people who just came through Wealth Mastery back in December have now been given an opportunity really that has tested their financial soundness, right? And if we default to fear when everyone else is facing a financial crisis, or have we prepared for a certain amount of uncertainty, right? And so even going back to, I remember several team members, John, you may remember, mostly female, in our last Wealth Mastery course, and they said, well, I really don't know what my bills are, Well, contact your husband, find out what the bills are. Both of you kind of need to know what it takes to keep the house afloat, where certain concessions can be made if needed, So, and I know most of my clients know, Chris gets laid off annually, usually, right? And it could be anywhere from a month to 3 months, usually no more than 3 months. But early on in our marriage, we recognized that we had to begin planning for that. Right? Not that we wanted to experience it in the years. If he didn't lay it off, it was great, but we knew we had to start planning for that. So one of the things that every financial crisis, I think, brings to the forefront, if we're being proactive, is that, maybe we do need to spend some time focusing on shoring up that financial house. Maybe we need to look for ways to drive more profitability to our home, situation, and making sure that we have X amount of liquidity built up so that we can weather a storm that lasts 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. But I thought that was great that so many of our team members just went through that and had already started taking steps to, either invest or cut expenses or whatever. So
I would say, and I think this is one of the biggest problems. This is why this dip in the economy is so catastrophic to so many households, and it's because the vast majority of Americans have already spent that $1,200 stimulus check, and they haven't gone it yet. They either put that on, they are expecting it, they put it on. That's expecting and taking action. that's how to do it. But we want to put that in a different contect. But
there's an intention behind the spending. That's right. The thing. So like one of the things I have done, I'm like 90% of the way back through Power versus Force. It's the first time this year that I've read it. I read it 4 times last year. I'm going through it once. And that was one of the things that always sticks out to me, is the intention behind it. If you were to take that and go ahead and spend that $1,200 on helping someone else or doing something that was fruitful, that had a very positive intentional motive behind it, not just securing material things, but actually doing something that would progress, those people I know will be rewarded. But those that have already spent it on things like a new motorcycle or a 4-wheeler, you've got to act with faith and make decisions in faith, but do it with the right motive and the right intention. And Mark even talked about that during the call that he did at 11 a.m. It was the same thing. You've got to kind of check your heart on some of the decisions that you're making, because every choice we make right now is going to have a consequence. And that consequence is either going to be positive or negative, all depending on the choice that we make and the motive from which we make it.
Yeah. I totally agree. Good. I'm glad we got through all that. We can wrap this thing up. I need to, I was up to 1 a.m. putting that implant presentation together. I'm about shot. My first call was at 7. I got to catch up. But be good. Thank you guys for joining us. Rick, appreciate you joining us. Enjoyed having you on.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. And if any questions you guys have, comments, concerns, anything you want to shoot our way, feel free to just comment in this video. Feel free to DM one of us. And then we'll also, this will be available on Facebook. We'll also be uploading it to our YouTube channel. So feel free to look for it there. And till next time, y'all stay safe and stay healthy.
All right. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you, John. Thank you, Reagan. Take
Bye.
care. Bye-bye. Be
You.
careful.
Bye.
Good seeing you.
You too, Rick.